Good morning, everyone, and it is a good morning. I would ask that those who can please stand and for as we begin the day with an honor song performed by Janet McHugh. Which. Miigwech. Anin, bonjour. Bonjour, and good morning. Honored guests, chiefs and councillors from local First Nations communities, councillors from the Metis Nation, Ontario, members of federal and provincial parliaments, dear museum members, donors, and project partners, ladies and gentlemen, and a special miigwech to Janet McHugh for starting today's celebration in a good way. You will also appreciate knowing that earlier this morning the site was smudged by Debbie Jacobs, who is a Curve Lake First Nations councillor, and as well as being a member of the Canadian Canoe Museum's board of directors. Also with Debbie was Ann Taylor, a knowledge holder and language speaker from Curve Lake First Nation. Ann is also working with us in exhibit development for the new museum as community coordinator for her nation. Ann is also serving a special role as a language advisor, and it is with her work and leadership that the museum fulfills a dream to provide signage and wayfinding in English, French, and Mississauga dialect Anishinaabemowin throughout the facility and campus, and also in all of the primary panels within the exhibition hall. This is very important work underway. Miigwech. So our thanks to both Debbie and Ann for smudging and cleansing the site this morning, and for their ongoing support of the museum. And just a reminder again that we're still operating under pandemic restrictions, and we ask those under the tent and everyone who is unable to appropriately distance to kindly wear your mask. Please do maintain social distancing at all times. Let me introduce myself. I'm Jeremy Ward, and it's my privilege to be the curator with the Canadian Canoe Museum, and my pleasure also today to be your humble taskmaster as Master of Ceremonies, if you will, and as I lead you through a full agenda of this morning, and as we celebrate the beginning of the construction of our new Canadian Canoe Museum. You know all too well it's been quite a journey to get to this moment, and we're incredibly excited to be at this stage and to have you with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to feel that land beneath your feet. I want you to look out on that beautiful water behind me and feel the wind as it blows across. We are truly honored to be on this traditional territory. Chief Emily Wheatongue stands out as a person who who has helped us strengthen our relationships with Curve Lake First Nation through proactive engagement and forward-looking perspective. Her counsel and guidance has been integral to our success. It is now my great pleasure to welcome Chief Emily Wheatung, Curve Lake First Nation.
Anin, Gijab Dishnikaz, Ashkigamon Gimandao. It is my pleasure to be here today, welcoming you to our territory. I look out at the water and I'm reminded of sitting by the water in Curve Lake with my showmiss, my grandfather. And he would tell us stories, my dad, my children and I, of his grandparents and his great-grandparents and his great-great-grandparents and the stories they told him of their grandparents in this area. And so that's an important thing to remember when we acknowledge the territory, when we think about what it means. It means that my ancestors have been here for generations. My ancestors have also been a part of the Canoe Museum for generations too, which is really fantastic. My dad was on the first board of the Canoe Museum when it started, and has been a big part of participating in that for years. So the Canoe Museum has always been a part of my life as long as it's been around, which is really fantastic. So with that in mind, it's great to hear the land acknowledgement and the territory acknowledgement. It's great to see Chief Carr here with us today as well, and you'll hear from her later, as we break ground on the new Canoe Museum building. So I hope everybody has a great day, and Chimigwach, welcome to our territory.
Chimigwech for that beautiful welcome. Our next presenter is a friend to the Canoe Museum and represents Provincial Council of the Metis Nation of Ontario and Region 6. Please welcome Councillor Andy Dufresne.
Morning. Elders, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, and our youth. First, congratulations to all on this milestone event. Our Métis Nation and our Métis communities see our history and our culture reflected in the fur trade, in the watercraft exhibits on display here. Our families and our students have participated in the many programs, events, and activities offered by the museum over the years. The Canoe Museum has provided staff, volunteers, to help us host many of our local events held at the museum. We hope to continue this great relationship, and we wish continued success to the museum in this new location and the new build. It is truly a world-class museum managed and staffed by world-class people. Thank you.
Wow. You didn't disappoint, Andy. Thank you. I should also acknowledge, thank you, Andy, and Krista, and your council for facilitating the gift of this beautiful chiman behind me to the Canadian Canoe Museum. We'll be talking about her a little bit later in the program. Now, the city of Peterborough has been a terrific partner to the Canadian Canoe Museum throughout this entire process. From city council to city administrators and all kinds of experts in between, the museum has relied on the city's team to help direct and guide us to get to this point. We look forward to continuing our partnership as the new museum becomes a key economic driver here in Peterborough on the waterfront. On behalf of the museum, I'd like to extend our gratitude for the city's ongoing support. Now, please join me in welcoming Mayor Diane Therrien.
Good morning, everybody. It's so great to be here with all of you on Williams Treaty territory, on Anishinaabe territory, for this fantastic project, which has been quite a journey, moving around different sites, raising money. But I think, you know, the obstacles that have been overcome are such a symbol of this community and everything that the Canoe Museum does for it. And this site here, as was said, looking out onto the water in a central location with all this beautiful nature around us, is going to be, I think, a phenomenal location when it's built. It's going to be a tourist destination, a point of pride for our community. The city is so happy to be a partner and to be supportive of this project. I know it's a big undertaking, and shout out to the staff and volunteers and the board and everybody that's been working so hard on this project for many, many years. It's finally happening. It's very exciting. So we're super excited to be here. I know Councillor Parnell is here. I know that our CAO and some other city staff are here. So it really is a testament to how committed the city of Peterborough is to the success of the Canoe Museum. The success of that is the success of Peterborough. So thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you, Diane. I don't know if you know this, we are not far from the foot of the rapids, which was a very long portage taking us down from the lakes above. This is an ancient canoe route, of course, and we are indeed on Mississauga territory here. Peterborough was also a major fabricating epicenter of canoes for about a century. And where the Canoe Museum is currently located is about 3 kilometers from here. And fun fact, if you joined all of the canoes and kayaks in the museum's collection, nose to tail, they would pretty much connect the current location of the Canoe Museum right to where we stand today. The first time I encountered Victoria Grant, who is our next speaker, was while I was leading a VIP tour of the museum's collection for a few board members from Community Foundations Canada. We were moving among some 500 beautiful canoes and kayaks from across Turtle Island, across Canada, and around the world. And even though I had a job to do, and I had great material to work with, I found myself instead drawn to the amazing and seemingly limitless canoe stories that Vicky had to share. Vicky has always understood the soul of the Canadian Canoe Museum, and I think that understanding is also reflected in today's event. I'm delighted to welcome to the podium Victoria Grant, Chair of our Board of Directors, and Atemi Agama Anishinaabe Kwe of Temagami First Nations. Vicky.
Bonjour, Kwe. Good morning. Victoria Grant, Indigenous Cause, Timiagma Anishinaabe Kwe, Mong Ndoden, Lake Temagami and Dunjaban. Good morning. I am Victoria Grant. I am a woman of the Deepwater people. I am from the Loon clan, and Temagami is my home. Thank you, Janet, for your opening song, and to Chief Weitung for your opening remarks, and for welcoming us to your traditional territory. Thank you to Andy and Diane for your kind words, and to our other guest speakers who you will hear from later today. Also, to all of you who are here, past directors, volunteers, and friends of the museum. None of this could happen without you. I want to take a moment to recognize our history, those who were instrumental in getting us here. Too many to mention by name, except maybe for one. Let's begin at the beginning. I didn't know Kirk Whipper personally, so I reached out to some who did. James Raffin generously offered these apt comments. Behind any museum collection of any consequence anywhere in the world is often the vision and impulsion of an enthusiastic amateur collector whose passions led to the genesis of a lasting cultural institution. That force in the Canadian Canoe Museum's history was our founder, Kirk Whipper, who would be ecstatic today with how the collection has grown and how the museum has evolved. 10 years ago, the board with staff began down a path to build a new home for our collection by the water that would be rooted in 3 areas: enhanced care, stewardship, and accessibility of the collection, organizational sustainability, growth, and program capacity. In these 10 years, this vision has always been sustained despite some twists and turns on the trail. I think it is important to acknowledge all those who have been involved and whose commitment has brought us to this place today. The directors who have served on the board, the staff, the volunteers, and friends who have supported the museum in many different ways. Many of you are here today, and I thank each of you for your vision, for your dedication, for making this happen. Although this past year was particularly challenging, it was your work that provided us the foundation that allowed us to do what was needed. We refer to this time as the pivot. After learning of the contamination at the lift lock site and understanding we could not build there, we knew the only way forward was an alternative site. And just to make it more challenging, we would do it through a pandemic. What a year it has been. And I would like to thank the current board of directors, some of who are here today. Some are pretty far away, so aren't here. They're in Whitehorse and places like that. It is my great privilege to serve you as your chair. Over this past year, you never wavered in your commitment and met the challenge of acute time constraints facing us. All this has led directly to this moment. Nor could we have done this without our executive director, the tireless Carolyn Heslop. Her leadership, her devotion, and her commitment to the museum were essential in getting us here today. Carolyn, thank you to you and your staff who have supported you through this time. While there is still much work to do, I am certain with your leadership and the continuing support of all of you, we will get there. Of interest, I learned that before the museum moved into the property on Monaghan Road, this location was considered a possible home. So maybe we wind up where we were meant to be, but arriving by a different route. That's a bit of the how. Now consider the why of today. It is about watercraft, canoes, kayaks, and the role they played in our history, and the importance of sharing their stories. Personally, for me, these vessels are Canada's most significant artifacts and great teachers. And I can think of no one better to share this story with us and the spirit of the bark canoe, Jimanes in Anishinaabemowin, than Mohegan, Marcel LaBelle. Marcel was born and raised in Mattawa, Ontario. He spent his childhood learning how to live and feed his family in the ways of his ancestors. His teachers were his Algonquin grandmothers, his Métis father and mother. When Marcel could no longer provide for his family by trapping, he received a gift, which led to his creating these beautiful, rich birch bark canoes from materials harvested in his backyard. Today, Marcel is sharing what he learned from his elders and teachers. I had the opportunity to spend some time with him when he came to my community to share his knowledge of canoe building. More importantly, what I learned from him is the significance of the canoe, where it comes from, and the spirit it carries. He helped me understand why I have such an affinity for the canoe. So much so, I have one, a chestnut, retired from after at least 55 years of paddling by my family, hanging in the hallway at my home, and I find myself just standing with it at times. When you talk to Marcel, you will learn that all he has done was in service to his family. He is a husband, a father, and a grandfather. His wife Joanne, his daughter Janique, and some of his grandchildren are here with us today. Most recently, Marcel sent me a picture of 4 generations of canoe builders: his father, himself, his son Mark, and the youngest was his 16-year-old grandson. Please help me welcome Mahigan.
Kwe, Mino Kijika, Marcel, Indigenous Cause, Mahigan, Dodum, Matawan, Dunjaba. Did you all get that? No. What I said is hello, and today's a good day. My name is Marcel. My spirit name is Mahigan, and that means wolf. And I'm from the Wolf clan. I come from Mattawa, up north. I'm really happy to be here today. Really, really happy. You mentioned Kirk a few times. He was mentioned. I remember meeting Kirk quite a few times, and he would always ask me to bring one of my canoes to live at the museum. And I was always look at him and say, no. So I gave him my paddle. And I feel Kirk is here today because somehow Kukumis made it here. So I think he might have had something to do with that. So I'll be right back. So I was asked to share the blueprint. Can you all hear me okay? Yeah, okay. For the chaman, for the birch bark canoe. Built Kokomis in a high school in Oshawa with many students. And the leads of the school board would come to me and ask for the blueprint for the chaman. So after being asked too many times, I took a blue chalk, I went to the board and I drew a little canoe. But if you allow me, I would like to share the blueprint for the chaman as I know it, as I learned it. You'll hear different nations that have different stories about the creation story, but this is the one I learned and I prefer, okay? Is it okay? Yeah. So a long time ago, Anishinaabe people, we did not have a canoe, but we wanted to take our children across the waters. And for us, the children, they're the most precious thing that we have. They're our future, right? So when we're stuck about something, we have ceremony. And in the ceremony, we chatted about which animal we could look at to show us a blueprint for the canoe. That's how we learn things, by looking at nature to find out how to do things. The beaver gave us the idea of making the paddle, okay? But we couldn't find the animal that would show us how to build a canoe. So one day in the ceremony, there was a child there. And in ceremony, we do pay special attention to the children because in our way of believing, we come around to this earth many times. So we really pay attention to the children because they may bring something special from the spirit world. So that child that day said, we want a vessel to carry something very precious, our children. So she asked, what's the most precious thing that every one of us here today have while we're here on earth? What is that? Well, it's our spirit, right? Like some people say, mon âme, mon esprit, my life, right? But I call it my spirit. And where do we carry our spirit while we're here? In our bodies, right? We have the physical part and then the spiritual part. Not for the spiritual part, we'd be on the ground. So who is the animal who would teach us how to build a chaman? Us, humans. That's what every human on earth has in common. So we started with our skin, but we weren't going to use our skin, right? So we went to the birch tree and we asked to borrow its skin, to use its skin. And the tree said yes, but don't forget tobacco. You saw as we come and present today, we're offered tobacco. It's a very special gift for us. So we offer it when we harvest the bark. So that's our skin. Kokomis has skin that comes from Alberta even. After the skin, when you touch your body, you feel your muscles, right? So to represent the muscle, we went to a cedar tree and we asked permission to take its wood. So the new growth, the sapwood on the cedar tree, that's what we use to represent the muscle on the canoe. Because that sapwood bends easy. It doesn't break when it falls, like a child. If a child breaks, it bounces back up. If a child falls, they bounce back up. If I fall, might not bounce back up as quickly, right? So that leads to the next part, the ribs, the bones, like us, the ribs, the backbone. It's all in the canoe if you look at it. We use the older cedar wood for that because it's stronger. So if you look at the side, the gunnels on the canoe, you see a root and a space, and a root and a space, and you look at the full length, that represents your backbone, where your ribs hook up in the back, and the crossers, the thwarts, they say in English, de travar, we say at home, they represent our sternum to make sure that we don't explode, right? Just like the canoe. We needed something to hold all that material together. So if you make a fist, you can see the tendons on your hand. If you move one finger, it's pretty strong. But if you hold all the fingers together, it's way stronger, like a community, right? So we went to a spruce tree and we said, could we take your roots to put our chaman together, to hold it tight? And the tree said yes, but don't forget tobacco. We only take about 7 or 8 roots so we don't damage the tree too much. Once it's all tied together, do you see like the blackish stuff on the canoe at all the seams? When you have a hole in your skin, you bleed, right? So we needed blood to heal the skin that we made holes in. So we went again to the spruce tree and we asked the spruce tree if we could borrow its blood. You know the resin, the gum? That's the tree's blood. But in that resin, there's no coagulant like our blood. So as we're building the canoe, we don't throw any shavings or roots, short roots away. We make a fire. And the ashes from that fire becomes the coagulant, like a cementing, bonding agent. But it makes it too brittle for cold water. So we add bear fat to make it more supple so it won't crack in cold water. But more importantly, the bear is a powerful protective spirit, so we have the bear spirit with us when we paddle our family across the water. So that's part of the creation story. But I've been asked to share a little bit more today, more of the spiritual aspect. So if you'll allow me, I'll continue for a few more minutes, okay? If you look at kokomis, and you look at one end, you see a little banam there, like the head, the back. You see that? There's one at this end too, okay? My friend, who is a spirit guide for me, his name is Del, he shared with me that in order to build a chaman, you need two spirits. You can't build with only one spirit. So you know we are the blueprint. So if you take our body and split it down the middle, spiritually now, and you use the left side from mother, okay, I can get closer. So you use the left side on mother, and then you use the left side on father, and you join them together. Then you have the two spirits. You use the left side because that's where your heart is. So your children, the heart represents the children in your canoe. If you look at the little Anishinaabe in the back and the Anishinaabe Nini, I think they say it up that way. Yeah, okay. In the front, you see the gunnels? That represents their arms. So the mommy and daddy reach out and keep the family in balance. So that's why you need the two spirits. Okay, Jeremy? I'd like to share a little something else. I'm very happy to be here today. A long time ago again, in the 1600s, when my French ancestors, I am Metis, came here and met with my Anishinaabe ancestors, the chaman is the gift that they shared. If not for that gift, Canada wouldn't be what it is today, right? The big ships had to stop along the river where the rapids were. And with the chaman, they got together, and I like to think they played cards, and maybe they did something else because I'm here today, right? So, for a long time, the people worked well together. We did. And then we forgot the gift somewhere along the way, not quite sure when. We won't dwell on that. I see today like bringing back that working together. That's what I see here today. You know, like people are remembering that the chaman comes from way back when. And I'm very happy today to be invited here to be part of the opening of this new museum. So, Chimigwech, merci. Thank you.
Merci. Rich, thank you for that. I've had the opportunity and privilege to follow canoe and kayak making by many builders across the country, and I'll never look at a chiman again the same way. The Canadian Canoe Museum is much more than just a collection of watercraft. It is a place, it's a gathering of stories, complex, diverse, wonderful stories. And perhaps one of the most important stories or powerful stories in the history of the organization, one of them, but certainly over recent years, is us getting to this point. There's none better, I think, who can speak and tell that story and share that with us than our next speaker. It's now time to hear from our thoughtful and courageous leader, our executive director of the Canadian Canoe Museum, Carolyn Hislop.
Yeah, not always courageous, just saying. This is too tall. Thank you very much, Jeremy. And thank you, everybody who's spoken before me. Oh, man.
Thank you, everybody that's come from very far to be with us today. This is a really important day for the Canoe Museum and for many of us who've been wanting this moment to happen for a very, very long time. A special shout out to those of you that arrived by canoe. James Raffin, Donald Ross, thank you for paddling into this event. This is the first of many, many events that the Canoe Museum is going to hold on this property. And there are many paddlers that are going to arrive to events at the Canoe Museum, much like today. This is also, for many of us, this community that we have been forming for years and years, the first time that we have been together in person in the same space for over 18 months. And I would just like to thank everybody for making the effort and trusting the process and being with us today. This is a really exciting opportunity. As you can see, and I think many of you probably know this already, but I think that this property, this location, is where the Canoe Museum was meant to be. This, as I'm standing here today, is, I hope, what everybody else can feel too. This is it. This is our spot. There is no doubt about it in my mind. And seeing how we've made this place our home, we've moved in. Sorry, neighbors. We have found the right location. We have found the right design. We have the right team. And it's so clear to me today when setting up for the moment that, and then seeing everybody's faces, that we are so fortunate. Walk with me if you can. I would like to take you on a bit of a visualization of what this property and this museum is going to be when we finish it in a little while. When I think about this property, I think of it as a campus. This is an indoor and outdoor campus. Look at the lake. We have a lake, which is extraordinary. Imagine canoe docks. Yes, Trans-Severn Waterway, it might be hard, but we imagine multiple canoe docks on this location. I imagine canoes tied up to those docks. I can see racks of canoes on the shore, on the side. I can see groups awaiting a canoe tour with some of our many fabulous canoe tour guides over there, Jen Bernard. I imagine a canoe house behind you, just behind you, where summer camp programming, school programming, and lots of outdoor recreational programming will be taking place from. I imagine these open spaces that are filled right now for gatherings like this, weddings and events, canoe rendezvous, regattas, and just picnics. This is a museum, which is unusual, but this is a museum that you can arrive by car, by bus, by bike on the Trans-Canada Trail, but also by canoe and kayak. And that's a pretty extraordinary offering for the town of Peterborough. Imagine your destination on a day like today. It's getting cooler, but imagine you've got a nice warm cup of hot chocolate in your hands and you want to hang out beside our cafe on the outdoor lakefront terrace, congregating around a warm outdoor fireplace. All of these outdoor aspects we've integrated into our plans have been reinforced by the last 18 months, to be honest with you, reminding us that in the time of COVID, that we have gone back to what is important, being in the outdoor spaces surrounded by our natural world where we can safely distance with our community. And these spaces will be enabled at this new museum. Inside our beautiful new museum that we're building with a wonderful team, there are a number of very dynamic spaces that are going to be supporting our programming and supporting the collection that we all love. West facing, looking out over this wonderful lake behind me, is our events and education room, as well as all of our new artisan maker spaces that we're building. Inside the stunning purpose-built home for the collection, we're going to have many exceptional exhibitions, and a collection hall that'll be fully accessible so that people can come and witness the full collection. You all know that this project takes an incredible team to inspire it, to design it, to plan for it, to fundraise for it. And I'm grateful to our board, our entire project team, the members, the donors, the funders, and many of you that are here today. Like Vicki said, I specifically do want to thank our board of directors. It's been a very challenging year and a half, for sure, but you've always had an incredible amount of optimism and support and enthusiasm for this vision. Our board chair, Vicki Grant. I can't think of any better person to be leading this organization right now. She took on the role of chair with the expectation that she would be opening and beginning construction on a museum at a different site, only to find out that we had to restart the entire process. Oh, Vicki. Vicki's support of myself and our team at the museum has been steadfast and generous, and it's been your vision for this project, this collection, and the governance of this board that has helped us transition to this moment today. I'm also incredibly grateful to my staff team. You folks are talented, you are creative, you are immensely dedicated, and very committed individuals to the Canoe Museum. You understand the heart and soul of this place, and I am privileged to share every day I get to spend with you. And I would be remiss, and he's going to hate this, but if I didn't acknowledge the leadership and friendship of Jeremy. Jeremy has brought incredible vision to this project over the last year. He has certainly shone by being my helper. We've had quite a journey together, and I'm really grateful to have him at my side for this kind of work. Sorry, I needed to say that. We wouldn't be here without Jeremy. Our museum volunteers. My goodness, it's been a tricky go in the last little while, but you are our best ambassadors, and you've been nothing but encouraging and supportive and patient during the last year, and I can't wait to open this new museum with you. Thanks as well to our project team. My goodness, you are so generous with your time. You make incredible commitments and dedication to this project, and I'm honored to be working with you. Please give me, this isn't what I wanted to say, but please join me in a warm round of applause for the full project team. Of course, projects like these require intense capital and lots of efforts to make it happen. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge the incredible support that all of our donors have provided from the beginning right through to today. All 4 levels of government that are here with us today. I want to thank each and every one of you for your continued enthusiasm and support. Our deep gratitude goes as well to our lead donor. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the Weston Family Foundation, not only for their generous financial support as our lead donor for the new museum project, but also for their 20+ years of ongoing support to help raise awareness of the importance of the canoe and our shared history, and for recognizing that we need a home called the Canadian Canoe Museum. The foundation has been a true partner in our growth and our development. Unfortunately, our friends from the foundation weren't able to be with us today, but they have shared some remarks that I'd like to share with you. As Emma, the board chair of the Family Foundation, says right now, congratulations to the directors, to the staff, and to the volunteers of the Canadian Canoe Museum on this long-awaited and much-anticipated event. Your creativity, your vision has made this day possible. Your perseverance in the face of obstacles ensured it was a reality. The Canadian Canoe Museum showcases an important part of our country's history and is sure to become a must-visit for Canadians and travelers from around the world. Our family's foundation is proud to assist you on this journey, and we are excited to see this beautiful new facility come to life on the water. A project like this takes many. I'd like to thank everybody for helping us get to where we are today. We are fortunate to have donors from across the country, and today we've raised over 82% of our campaign goal. That said, the work's not done. We still have lots of ways to go, so please stay tuned, and we'll be launching our public phase campaign later this fall. I would like to call our next speaker to the podium. My next speaker is a steadfast supporter of the Canoe Museum. He has understood and championed the vision and economic potential of the new museum project for some time now. He is also a proud Douro-Dummer Township resident and neighbor, just like myself. Please join me in welcoming the County of Peterborough Warden J. Murray Jones.
Wow. The duo here of Carolyn and Jeremy, you can take them out of Douro-Dummer, huh? You're doing good. I've got to say what a tremendous, absolute tremendous honor that it is to be here today. You know, one of my famous sayings that I've milked to death over the last couple of years is, we're all in this together. I even have pens. I should have brought some for all of you. And this event today is probably the epitome of what that statement means. We are all in this together, regardless of where we came from. I look at this gift to my right. How precious is that? I look at the ground that's before us where we sit and we stand. How precious is that? And it's all one big gift for all of us. The reason we're all in such a good mood today, I can tell, is that we're only a softball throw away from Peterborough County. So I do understand why you are in such a good mood. And it's so incredibly important that we work together to preserve our history. Our history is something they can't take away from us. A lot of good things, a lot of bad things. But we need to work together to preserve, to protect, to look in the future in a positive way. And I think that's what we're all doing here today. So I'm incredibly honored to represent Peterborough County. I'm incredibly honored to know that we, in a small way, are partners in this project. And no doubt Carolyn will be sending more emails. I love them, believe me. So thank you all very much. On behalf of all of us in the County of Peterborough, we are so delighted and so honored to be a part of this venture. And to all the politicians, the city, the county, the federal, the provincial politicians who are sitting here staring at me right now, I guess I just want to say, we've been to so many events. I even see Jeff Leal out here, and he knows what I'm saying too. So many events and so many places that we felt so honored to be at. And once we finish our day in the political spectrum, I think we're going to have a list of highlights that we remember. And you know, I think to all my politicians, I think we are going to be so proud of the moment that we have all created today. So let's remember it with kindness. I know I will. Canoe? Little joke to end it. Thank you.
Delivered as expected, J. Murray. We are indeed neighbors. I'm often cutting my speed rather suddenly because J. Murray Jones is out for his morning constitutional walk on the road that connects my house to his, and I'm on my way to work a little bit late, and we give a wave politely. Fun fact, the very first canoe that was given to Kirk Whipper, this would be back in the 1950s, so I've been told, This is the seed, the inspiration that really set a course that has brought us here. This is a dugout canoe from the late 19th century. It was made in Warsaw, not far from my home, from your home, not far from Carolyn. She's in the suburbs of Warsaw, I suppose. But that's actually how this sort of incredible idea and the energy that's here, it all began with a canoe, I suppose, but it's a much bigger story than that. MPP Dave Smith was first elected to Queen's Park in June of 2018. He's a parliamentary assistant to the Minister of Energy, Northern Development and Mines, and the parliamentary assistant to Minister of Indigenous Affairs. Dave's dedication to Peterborough and the surrounding area is well known and widely acknowledged. Dave has been a tremendous supporter of the Canadian Canoe Museum, and we're thrilled that he joins us this morning. Please welcome MPP for Peterborough and Kawartha, Dave Smith.
Thanks, Jeremy. And I'd like to point out that I also am a Duro-Dummer resident, so all good things right now seem to be coming from Duro-Dummer. There was a lot of things I was going to say when I first came up, but we are running a little bit behind, so at 6'4", I'll do my best to be short. Many of you don't know, I first met Carolyn before I got involved in politics. I was the chair of the Under the Lock Hockey Tournament. It was Canada's only minor hockey sanctioned tournament played on a body of water between locks 20 and 21. And when the first plan came out for the Canoe Museum, I was concerned that the renovations would change the canal and we wouldn't be able to have that kids event. So I came to see Carolyn, and I can't tell you how receptive she was. It was fantastic having somebody that was willing to take a look at what they needed to do to make sure that they didn't take away from the event that kids would have. And that was my first meeting with her. Fast forward a few years, and I'm now the member of Provincial Parliament. And there were some challenges that came up again with the Canoe Museum, and we sat down and had a great conversation about it, and ongoing conversations about what we were going to do and how the province could help support. Which leads me to one other thing, and I was afraid that Jay was actually going to steal my thunder on it. I have been the MPP for just over 3 years. This project has been ongoing for close to a decade. I did not start the process on behalf of the province. That honor goes to Jeff Leal. And it would be wrong and remiss of me if I didn't acknowledge the work that he did early on with it, because he truly did carry the banner for the Canoe Museum in the early days. I just get lucky enough that I get to carry the ball across the finish line and finish the work that he started. So thank you very much, Jeff, for what you did there. Which leads me to the next thing that I'm supposed to do, and that is to introduce the minister who is responsible for making sure that through all of the challenges that the Canoe Museum has had, that they have had the support of the province. I have a fantastic colleague who has done a number of great things for us, and every time I have come to her and said, we need some help with the Canoe Museum again, she has always said, whatever you need, Dave, just let me know, I'm there for you. She has been a champion for all of the industries that fall under her ministry. And I think that she's just a fantastic person all around. With that, I'd like to introduce to you my good friend, my colleague, the Minister for Heritage, Sport, Tourism and Culture Industries, Lisa MacLeod.
Hey, Jeff. I love to see people from different sides of the aisle graciously point out to one another, as Dave and you have just done. So let's have a round of applause for civility in politics. Yes, I love that. I actually have tears in my eyes. I've served with Jeff for 4 terms at the legislature, and I was thinking about you the other day when I was over at Manulife, and I remember going over there one day to go get some groceries, and you were coming out with a can of tomato soup. I said, what are you doing? He goes, I'm getting my supper. It was 57 cents. Pretty frugal. And it's great to be here with Dave. I have to say, you know, when you guys send people to Queen's Park, they know where they're from. They say the word Peterborough more than I say the word Ottawa, and I say the word Ottawa a lot. So want to say thank you to you, because when there were challenges with the museum, you were always there to make sure that our commitment remained, And I'm not sure what everyone knows what the commitment from the Ontario government is, but we are investing $5 million to make this a reality and to support the storytelling that is going into the museum and to the heritage of this community. I want to say to Marcel, we should have just probably cut the program off after you spoke. And everyone's agreeing, so I'm going to be brief. But that was incredible. And it's exactly what we need to do, not only as a province, but as a country, is to tell our stories. And there are many different stories around, and I thought you spoke very eloquently. Without saying the word reconciliation, you made us all think about reconciliation. And a big part of that is by telling our Indigenous brothers and sisters stories and making sure that we invest in this. And so I'll say this, as much as we are going to invest $5 million into this wonderful museum that's going to tell Canadian stories and Indigenous stories, it's also important that we continue to support its operations. And that's why we're going to continue to support you through the Community Museum operating grants. It's also important that you know that cultural history and Indigenous history will be very important for the revival of the sectors that I represent. And that includes tourism. And Peterborough is a wonderful, most beautiful community that has so much to offer. And as we start to encourage people from around the province to start to rediscover Ontario and rediscover our places, the pride of people, the pride of place, the pride of product that we have, it's these types of infrastructure projects and storytelling projects that are going to ensure that people keep coming back, not just from Ontario and not just from the rest of Canada, but from around the world. And it is the authentic Ontario experience that includes those Indigenous stories that are going to be important. And I want to just conclude on this because I happen to be the minister responsible for film and television production as well. And a few years ago in 2017, a nice film was produced here called Indian Horse. And I'm not sure if any of you have seen it. I'm sure those of you from around know some of the actors and actresses that were part of that. And it premiered at TIFF, and I had the opportunity to watch it a couple of times. And the reason I wanted to be here today, and I have to say, I had a pancake breakfast this morning from 5 until 8 a.m. at the Queensway Carleton Hospital in my riding to say thank you to our frontline healthcare workers for everything. And I wanted to make sure I was here because that story of Indian Horse and the residential schools really started here on these rivers and with a canoe. And I really wanted to be here because I think that that's an important, although that it wasn't a true story, it was based on truth. And I think it's important that we continue to reflect on that, and we have a place that we're able to do that with. So I want to congratulate all of you for all of the hard work, lots of bumps in the road, but I think it might have been Victoria that said it best when you might have had to take a different route, but you arrived at the same place. So congratulations to all of you, Chimigwich, and thank you very much, Marcel, for bringing so much color commentary to today. It was necessary, and if those are your grandchildren, they are super cute, and and it's wonderful that the children are here because hopefully that they'll be the ones that are taught so much from this great museum. So thank you all very much. I really enjoyed being here today.
Thank you, Minister MacLeod. And we look forward to, when you find yourself with a little bit of time, we look forward to sitting down with you at the Canoe Museum. We've got a lot to talk about and to work on going ahead. So as we come towards the end of today's program, we're about to hear from somebody who has been an incredible supporter and mentor to the Canoe Museum. She's also a member of our National Council of Advisors and someone who intrinsically understands and supports the museum. It's my great pleasure to welcome Chief Laurie Carr from Hiawatha First Nation.
Ani Monokajab, Wawash Kashtodem, Megazekwe Dishnakas, Lori Jaganash Noswin, Michisagi, Anishinaabe, and Dow. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lori. My Indigenous name is Eagle Woman. I'm from the Deer, the Hoof Clan, and I'm chief of our community of Hiawatha First Nation. And I just wanted to first say, as always, give thanks. So for the invitation to be here, to be part of this day, It's been a great day, and I had the seat there. I'm going to tell you, it's a little hard. It's like sitting in the front row of the theater, but also a very beautiful view. And I noticed the women speak of the water. So miigwech, it's our duty, it's our role to take care of that water. So miigwech for doing that. And Hiawatha is just located 20 kilometers southeast of Peterborough, and we've built our relationship over the last 5 or 6 years with the Canoe Museum and with Carolyn and Jeremy and the board, and did some tours to Toronto with them for supporting them in their efforts, and also to get to know each other. We build our relationships on respect and trust, and key is trust, and that comes from having a coffee. It comes from having that conversation. It's from sitting out in the park and talking, and it's from sharing that knowledge, and from there we've built that organic relationship. And to the way to see the museum and the board take care of the canoes, and that's where I kind of came in at that point of watching the care and knowing that that is our traditional way of life. That was how we traveled. That was how we harvested our food. That was how we did our trade. And so when you pay honor and respect to the spirits of the canoe, every piece has a spirit, and when you pay respects to that, then I am feeling honored in tradition for my ancestors. And it's our way of traveling the waterways. And when Marcel, miigwech, Marcel, for that story, for telling that, that's the first time that I've heard that story in relation to building that canoe. But when you did say that when you feel your skin and you know, you feel that muscle, I'm going to tell you, after COVID, I'm not feeling muscle first anymore. give it some time. But I did truly appreciate that story. But being able to sit here and see the water and watch the little ones play and know that, as you mentioned, are precious gifts. And you do have the perfect spot. It's beautiful here. And you talked about the fire, and when you see the elements of the air and the water and the fire, and it is the perfect spot. And I could imagine myself sitting out here having some coffees and enjoying that time. So I just wanted to say thank you again to everybody who spoke, and I learned very much today from each of you. And to Chief Emily, I always thank you for that welcome and that those just for being you, and for those from Duro Dummer, I'm just gonna say Curve Lake and Hiawatha. I'm sorry. In our territory, yes, thank you, our traditional territory. So, and having that relationship and being able to be on here and coming together to do this, I am honored and pleasured and grateful. So, miigwech, thank you. It's been a great day, a beautiful day, and for all your hard work, the board, everybody that's come together. I'm sure there's many people that I'm not aware of, but to everybody who's done that work, and especially, I did not say this, to our elders in here today and who did those ceremonies and brought those medicines, and chi miigwech, and the drum. So I honor those sacred items that were here in medicines. Miigwech.
Chief Carr, thank you for the beautiful words. I can't imagine a better way to round out today's presentations than those messages. They mean a great deal. So just before I invite Janet back up to the front to perform closing drum song for us, on behalf of the Board of Directors and the entire team at the Canadian Canoe Museum, I thank you for your show of support today. And just a housekeeping note, could all of this morning's speakers kindly make their way to the Chiman, just behind me, following the conclusion of the song for some photographs. It has been my pleasure to be with you, and thanks again for being with us this morning. Cheers again to everyone who are also watching this broadcast. And I'd please welcome Janet back up to the front for the closing drum song. Gretchen.